Michael Savage is a right-wing radio host who we rarely talk about, but in all seriousness, he's the worst by far. Now, I know that's a bold statement, but believe me, he's so crazy that he makes Glenn Beck look reasonable by comparison. Well, he's got a new theory about the Obama administration that he'd like to share with us.
ISIS has 12,000 foreign fighters, hundreds of Americans. Hundreds of Americans. Where was Homeland Security when all of these so-called homegrown Muslim radicals were incubating? Well, they were looking at returning white Christian male soldiers and those who oppose abortion. That's your DHS, the same DHS that was nowhere to be seen in Ferguson, Missouri, with their tanks and their 9mm hollow points. And they were waiting for an insurrection by white people. That's what the Homeland Security is getting ready for. All you evil white crackers. So when the city was almost burned to the ground, they weren't there because they're still planning your insurrection. This entire government is geared up to fight a war against white people. I'm sorry to have to tell you that. I'm sorry to break the news. I'm getting very close to telling you what I really believe. Very close to telling you what I really believe. That this is the most divisive administration, that's a given. Could it also be the most racist administration in American history? Are we allowed to ask the question?
Oh, you could ask the question, dude. You're just an idiot. You might as well put on your tinfoil hat as you're saying it. So, this is the most racist administration ever. Michael Savage isn't racist. No, of course not. Of course not. It's President Obama. President Obama's a racist, and they're planning a race war. Exactly. You couldn't make this stuff up if you tried. See, I told you. I mean, this guy makes Rush Limbaugh look fucking reasonable. Okay? Just wild accusations and claims, and it's frightening, really. So let's actually try to break this down. I don't know why we're bothering, but he says, well, ISIS has Americans, and where was intelligence looking into them? Where's the government looking into them? They're too busy looking into Christians. Actually, that is 100% incorrect, because we did a story recently. It was one of the Snowden leaks. It was released through The Intercept, and they spoke about how, unfortunately, our intelligence agencies, whether we're talking about the NSA or the CIA and others, so the government in general, they were directed to treat moderate Muslims as if they are terrorists, and nobody on the list was right-wing or conservative or Christian terrorists. So all the people that they were spying on and giving extra scrutiny to, they would look more into moderate Muslims when they knew they were moderate Muslims over somebody who might be an extremist Christian or a KKK operative or a neo-Nazi or just a right-wing terrorist of any stripe, sovereign citizen, you name it. So he has it exactly backwards. The idea that the government is going soft on Muslims? Yes, you nailed it, man. The U.S. government, they're not looking into Muslims extra. And the reality is, of course, that it actually would make more sense to look more into the right-wing terrorists and the Christian terrorists because, according to the data, they're the biggest threat in the United States of America. I know a lot of people don't like to hear this. Even some liberals don't like to hear this. Guys like Bill Maher like to think only terrorism that exists is Muslim. Wrong. Look at the Department of Homeland Security study that came out in 2009. They found that 56% of the terrorist attacks that happened in the United States from the 1990s until today were right-wing terrorist attacks. We're talking about the KKK. We're talking about sovereign citizens. We're talking about abortion clinic bombers. We're talking about neo-Nazis. We're talking about militia groups. There's been an explosion of militia groups ever since President Obama was elected. There was a murder recently where the guy laid a "Don't Tread on Me" flag over a police officer that he shot in the fucking face. Okay, this is the problem in today's America. How about the guy who recently walked into a Jewish center and started shooting people? That's called a terrorist attack, ladies and gentlemen. Just because he has white skin doesn't mean it's not terrorism. That actually is the bigger terrorist threat in the United States of America. Now, look, I get it, man. Internationally, it's true that the problem is more Muslim. I'm with you. I see ISIS. I see Al-Qaeda. But to pretend like the government is biased against Christians in the U.S., right, 76% of the population is Christian, but the government is biased against Christians. I mean, it's so stupid, it's painful to even respond to it. And then the dumbest point of all, other than the race war, please, and Obama's racist. Yeah, the majority of his cabinet, majority of his friends, majority of everybody around him, white, but no, he hates white people. But he says the government, they didn't crack down in Ferguson. They didn't go hard in Ferguson. Really? Really? Now, yes, the federal government, they did go in, right? But they actually had to calm down the situation. Why? Because the government, okay, the state government, the local government, you name it, the Ferguson police, they were cracking down in an insane way, tear gassing innocent, nonviolent protesters and reporters from the media, attacking the press, shooting rubber bullets at people, using noise machines, rolling in military vehicles. The idea that the government went soft in Ferguson? Nonsense. But you know where they did go soft? You ready for this, big guy? The Bundy Ranch. You had these protesters pointing guns at law enforcement officials. Live guns, okay? And what happened? Well, the government retreated. They actually went away. So this jackass is telling you the opposite is true, right? This jackass is telling you that the government is biased in favor of black people and against white people. But what's the reality? In the Bundy Ranch situation with white people, they went incredibly soft on them, right? And in the Ferguson situation, they went hard on them. So the bias is the exact opposite of what he's saying. But this guy is such a fucking idiot, and he's blinded by his own stupidity and bigotry and racism, he can't see straight. But then again, I don't know why I'm trying to use rationality to get through to a guy who just said, Obama's a racist, and he's about to do a race war. I have a question for Michael Savage. When Obama leaves office, as he will soon, and there has not been a race war, okay, is Michael Savage going to come out and apologize? Is he going to come out and say, okay, I was wrong on this one, guys. I said Obama and the government were going to do a race war. They didn't do a race war. My bad. Are you going to do that, Michael Savage? Are you going to apologize when a race war doesn't happen and Obama leaves office? Yeah, I won't hold my breath for that.